Welcome everybody to our May meeting. Have we got any apologies? I think we've got everybody here. Can I please have confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 8th of April 2025 as circulated be taken as read and confirmed? Councillor Collins and Councillor Sherman. We don't have presentations today. We've just had our citizenship. Oh, sorry. We had those two councillors confirm it. Can I all in favour say aye? That's adopted. Thank you. No presentations today, but we did have citizenship ceremony this morning for Suzanne and Shirley. Congratulations to both of those people on their Australian citizenship. Can I call for declarations of interest, gifts, receives and conflicts of interest in today's meeting? Neil? Thank you. And we will have the mayoral minutes, which is the cost shifting report on page 4. Pressure on councils to continue to provide services of appropriate standard to our communities is now extraordinary. The unrelenting growth of cost shifting to councils, coupled with rate pegging, is increasingly eroding any possibility of financially sustainable local government and risking the capacity of councils to deliver tailored grassroots services to their communities and properly deliver and maintain vital infrastructure. Alarming, the latest research commissioned by Local Government New South Wales shows that the increase in cost shifting has been accelerated by various New South Wales government policies. As shown in the latest cost shifting report produced by independent consultants, Morrison Lowe, on behalf of Local Government New South Wales for the 2021-2022 financial year, an amount of $1.36 billion of expense has been passed on to councils to fund. This is an increase of $540 million since the last report from the 2017-2018 financial year and represents lost services, lost opportunity and lost amenity for all our residents and businesses. On average, this represents an additional cost of $460.67 for every ratepayer across the state. With councils having to fund this ongoing subsidy for the state government each and every year, it means our communities get less or go without. They go without better roads, they go without better parks, they go without important community services and only councils provide. And they and their ratepayers are effectively paying hidden taxes to other local governments, other levels of government. Councillors, our community deserve better, and this must stop. Prior to the most recent state election, the then Minns opposition wrote to Local Government New South Wales acknowledging that cost shifting and undermined the financial sustainability of the local government sector. Now in 2025, it is important to councils and communities that the New South Wales government urgently seek to address cost shifting through combination of regulatory reform, budgetary provision and appropriate funding. The New South Wales government has recently responded to the report Ability of Local Governments to Fund Infrastructure and Services, which is attached for your confirmation. My recommendation is that the council receive and note the findings of the Local Government New South Wales Cost Shifting Report for the 2021-2022 financial year and the New South Wales Government response to the Ability of Local Governments to Fund Infrastructure and Services report. Further, that a copy of both attachments be placed on the council's website, social media pages and the wider news so that the wider community can access the information. Further, that the draft attached correspondence addressed to the Premier, the New South Wales Treasurer and the New South Wales Minister for Local Government seeking that they urgently seek to address cost shifting through a combination of regulatory reform, budgetary provision and appropriate funding is endorsed. So we just need that acknowledged.
You don't, yes.
Yeah, just need it acknowledged.
You don't need a seconder, you just need to put it. But before you do that, there's been a couple of things that have happened recently. One is that they've modified the requirement regarding depreciation, which was a recommendation. And also we heard yesterday that the red fleet, there seems to be a win with regard to the council having to keep the red fleet on our books.
It's moved to the next stage to be debated as to whether
Both those are people.
still there, it's just been moved down.
Well, that's what you need to right out of the state.
Are they reducing the depreciation? Or?
No, not reducing it, but they're just not giving it the same prominence of funding.
Doesn't sit within the continuing operations expenditure anymore. It's taken out of there and put down on a further line down. So it's still got to recognise on the income statement, but it's not part of continuing operations.
Yeah, important. Lesson.
Any debate?
Is there any debate?
There is.
All this cost shifting, that period of time we're talking about, there was unprecedented grants and things. So we're not talking about local and Commonwealth, is there not, for roads and things?
There was.
So how does that fit within cost shifting? It's more of a structural.
It's, well, the question.
Like the emergency services and waste levies, things like that.
But it's also medical services as well.
Yeah.
You know,
The
effectively.
figure cited was $1.3 billion in the mayoral minute. If you were to add up every large infrastructure program, I sincerely doubt you'd get to that kind of money. Really only got fixing local roads, fixing country roads and heavy vehicle safety and productivity program, and I don't think they would come close to being
That sort of
in
money.
excess of $1
across the
billion.
state. Yeah, right.
Fixing local roads was a $500 million program, but it was in some regards a disaster response package because it started out as a pothole repair round following all the flooding we got. So,
Childcare or aged care or even crime control. I mean, that's all cost shifting too onto local government.
Interestingly, all the ministers, certainly at the Rural and Regional Summit, the ministers that spoke to us acknowledged it,
That it was an issue, didn't
that
it?
it was an issue and, keen to do something about it. But from my perspective, all they're keen to do is really blame the federal government.
Yeah, it's a blaming thing.
So, yeah, but they certainly acknowledge it.
Well, they believe that there's cost shifting between the state and federal government as well.
And that's not new.
But the main problem is the vertical fiscal imbalance where you've got the federal government basically collect all the taxes and local government and the states do all the work.
Yeah.
And, the federal government would rather spend the money on diversity schemes and, supporting a whole bunch of other crap that shouldn't be funded at all. So.
Any more questions?
Need to put it to the vote.
Can we put that to a vote? Those in favour say aye.
No.
We move on to 7.1, dealing with items by exception on page 68.
Was an additional report that was also part of the agenda 7.12, which is the Fingara Senior Citizen Centre Section 355 Committee. And then having thought there was actually an error. The president is Suzanne Hughes, not whoever the person was that they named.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. What an interesting typo. I didn't even know their president.
So
So if anyone wants to withdraw any of those items for discussion, please let me know.
when we're saying withdraw, we're going to talk about them. That's right, isn't it?
That's
Yeah,
the only right.
yeah, just for clarification. So
I think we've got time to look at them all, haven't we?
I agree. Yeah. Thanks, Mick. Councillor Collins, so we're selecting them all. Can I have a mover, Councillor Collins, or do we have to?
I wouldn't worry about, you don't really need to move it. It was only a mover if there were those ones that were going to be adopted. If you're removing them all, you don't
Okay,
have to worry.
very good. Okay, we move on to 7.2 with the Executive Services Report on page 69. And that will be read out by General Manager Max Eastcott.
No, I'll take any questions.
Any questions on that?
I had a question. I don't know if I should answer this, but the expressions of interest for the pools and the caravan parks, is that another 12 monthly sort of contract, or that's what it was last year?
Yes,
12 months.
yes. Well, because both those things are on Crown land and we haven't finalised the management plans, we can only issue them 12 months. But we're hopeful that the work that we've got in place at the moment, which we're working through, that we may be able to give 3-year leases, but that hasn't been finalised yet. The applications have closed. They're currently being evaluated. There'll probably be a report go to the June council meeting.
Any applicants? Just offhand?
No, it's not many actually. Especially, I'm a bit worried about the Warrialda pool because I don't think there were any applicants other than a fairly large group from Brisbane who wanted something over $700,000 to run both pools. So we're looking seriously at how we can perhaps man the pools ourselves or personally. Not sure. We do have apparently we have a qualified pool manager on staff. I don't know if he's been spoken to yet, but we have trained up a lot of lifeguards so that the opportunity for young people to get some employment during the summer period. So we're investigating that, plus looking at the others that have actually put up their hand to run those facilities.
While we're talking about the caravan parks, I'd just like to acknowledge the work that's been done at the Warrialda Caravan Park by the couple that are managing that. We came through last night and came past it again this morning, and it's got, first time I've seen it with lots of caravans in there, and it looks very smick. So yeah, it looks well kept and cared for, and there's
They go the extra mile.
yeah, looks really good.
Perry and Co.
No,
Alan,
Oh, it's different.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Alan Austin and Fiona.
Couple more things I've got.
Yep, no,
The living classroom. A few residents have sort of said all the bitching and all that. Where's it coming from and who's paying for that? Probably very from.
it's part of the there were two groups. You know,
big group.
there was an
grant.
interpretive centre and the cafe grant. That's part of that funding going, the new driveway and the car park. And there's also the emergency housing, which are those 5 units between those two grants, that's where the work is being funded by. There's also some additional allocation from council's funds, but it's mainly the grant funds.
And the bigger riverfront project, are we going to get a jetty or just not?
Yes, we're getting a pontoon.
Another pontoon? I know where there's one.
The pontoon has been designed to be able to be taken out when there's a flood event, so.
And will be finished by the end of June, won't it?
I don't think the jetty will be finished, the pontoon will be finished by the end of June, but the other work will.
It looks good now, actually.
Yeah,
It's looking
gotta
good.
be
It looks
rough.
really good.
Not looking for names, Max, but did we get any assistance in regards to the damage to the rec ground when we posted it on our?
No,
I know it's had the most views out of
Had a lot of
any
hits.
ever been put on there, but it was disappointing to see. Luckily, they didn't continue onto the main ground.
It was called circuit work. Is it more circle work?
I blamed the engineer, actually. He put those ruffle strips down the end of the road, so I had to go onto the.
Let's not blame him for actually doing.
I was going to say, does anyone know where he was that night?
It's sad, isn't it? That people can
Yeah, it
come in
is.
and do that sort of thing with all the work that goes into it. Any more questions? A mover and a seconder, Councillor Sherman and Councillor Chris at Brisbane. And those in favour say aye. Thank you. Move on to 7.3, organisation and community service report on page 80.
I'd be happy to talk to you for hours about what's in here, but you'd be happier if you asked me questions. Anything that interests you or anything you want clarity on.
You lost a client.
I lost a client.
Why did he die from the leave? That is
That's a common occurrence.
very much that.
CD Parks coming on.
It's looking really
It's
good.
getting exciting, isn't it?
The foot, get a chance, you can't go onto the site, but have a look at the footpath that they poured yesterday. It's going to be
We tried to look in the dark last night. But
didn't quite work.
and due to finish on time as required.
And
Unless
there is
something happens
toilets there.
this few days, there is toilets there.
There's been lots of positive comments from the drawings that are up.
That's great.
Alex Wange from it. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
And that's the only comment is, oh, will they finish it on time?
Yes, yes, we will.
Okay, I believe we will finish on time.
And it's looking more likely that we will also have the path through to Stephen Street.
Oh, excellent.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No,
Sorry, we're actually talking about that in the other one up.
The daycare centre, are they happy with how that's going, numbers and everything?
It's going well. Our problem is staffing. We're
Yeah.
still chasing staff. We had to close it last week because of COVID. We had 3 staff members with COVID, so there's really no backup plan, which is disappointing. But
I've heard down south in Vingra area, I've heard lots of positive comments from parents. One parent said that they've only got one child and that I hadn't left them before and they went to pick them up and they didn't want to come home. Yeah, and another parent who was very, very nervous about first babies and didn't want to, and she just said it's just amazing and they're really good. So it's good positive feedback from parents, which is good.
in the new year, or calendar year, we hope to try and run the childcare course again. Now that we have the long day care centres running, there could be more interest and more commitment, really. So we'll see how we go there and train our own. but currently it's just running on skeleton staff. But very, very well patronised.
Staffing's a problem wherever you go, though, isn't it?
On the youth services with the wider Willoughby Youth Exchange, there's some council staff members going to Bingara Central School today to talk to the students about it, to get some interest and let them know what's involved. There are a lot of students that are keen to participate.
Oh, great.
It should be good to see.
Last year they kept that, as I think I said in a meeting last year, they've kept a lot of the students that students that did it last year have kept a really good friendship with those Willoughby students to this day and are in contact and with them FaceTime, as you would know, Scott, FaceTime and catch up, send gifts to each other, and that's a big positive. Rach and I was speaking to and she said Mayor Tanya from Willoughby, and they're all very excited.
It's just lovely when you attend those weekends, like the Bingara and as well as the Willoughby, and you see them grow in that time. It's one of the most amazing things we do as council is
And I think
provide that opportunity.
I think the good thing about it here is it's also mixing the friendships with the Warialda students and the Bingara students.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's a friendship that's come out of that normally they probably wouldn't mix. So that's probably one of the most important things too. Okay. Any more questions for Leah? Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Coleman and Councillor Collins. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Move on to 7.4, Technical Services Report on 109. Alex will talk about this. And sorry, the PDD, but
I think we're pretty well covered this evening, Park, where, yes, Councillor Wilmot, we can advise the public that it will be completed on time. The analogy I use is when a house or a shed is being built, it looks like nothing's happening for the first few months, and then it seems to go up overnight. And we're very much about to go up overnight.
No, I do a daily inspection of the wall plan more.
Yeah, there's been a bit happening there. It's tracking well budget wise also. Yeah, lots of concrete being laid, trees have been ordered, turf has been ordered. Toilet block is not far away from lockup. Any questions on that one, I'll take them, but happy to move on. We've finished quite a few big projects in the last month. Wines Road, which was a $3.1 million upgrade. New causeways, bitumen for approximately 18 kilometres, done and dusted, and we're submitting the post-completion report for that. With the addition of some disaster recovery funding arrangement money, that project has come basically dead on budget. We have completed Moree Plains section of the Ibor Road. It's about a 2.1 kilometre section. It was completed within the budget that we had agreed and have a contract with Moree Plains for. That now gives us a 44 kilometre sealed link across the north of the Shire, from basically the Inverell Shire boundary at the Otley Creek Bridge on Gedda Road right the way out to the Newell Highway. Hopefully Inverell Shire will come on board and use their vast cash reserves to seal their section of the Gedda Road, and we'll have a complete sealed link. Cropper Creek Road, there was a combination of disaster recovery funding money and fixing country roads money, about $2 million of disaster money and $7 million of fixing country roads. All the causeways there have been replaced, and 20 of the 23 kilometres has been rehabilitated. We've got a lot more work to do there. And for the councillors in that neck of the woods, or with connections in that neck of the woods, I'd highlight that about 10 kilometres of the bitumen that has been laid is going to be remilled. That was the intention all along. We've done works that serve as what we call the sub-base, the second layer of pavement, to put a lid on that and make sure we didn't lose it. We had to put a pretty modest, minimal bitumen seal. So there's more than 10 kilometres that will get a new layer of gravel on top of it, and as part of those works, we mill the new bitumen seal. If anyone's wondering why we're doing it twice, that's the answer. Our state roads job down at Wendouree is all but complete, with line marking expected to be done this week. That'll be weather dependent. It's another job that's come on time and under budget. And we're on Oregon Road at last. I've come good on my promise to Councillor Sherman, doing a full rip and relay of the 40 kilometres of gravel there. Happy to take questions on anything else.
I did a daily inspection of it and it's held up very well.
Great work. I love the positive comments up there.
Windaroo, that's just the one sample pin.
Yes.
I noticed last night coming back in, the two levels were a bit different.
As in, you get a little bit of a bump when you move on to
Well,
the
one
new
had
work.
filled up more than the other, and I had a very heavy load on the top of my truck, and I thought I could easily knock that off.
We certainly can arrange for an inspection to take place. Typically, we'll leave things ever so slightly proud, and the intention is that as you get compaction on that seam from traffic, over time, instead of the new part of the pavement sinking and you're having something that you dip into, use the expertise of the grader operators that have been doing it forever, and they trim ever so slightly proud, and as traffic goes over it, you end up with a smooth transition.
It's different levels.
But the truck wash continues to do well. I actually went back through like the last 6 months, and it's improving. Like the numbers are increasing every month.
Last month was a record for usage since commissioning.
So well done.
I don't think the cost increase will have an impact. I spoke to a couple of blokes and he said we're the cheapest anyway.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And supposed to be the best, like that. Some people said, that was in a previous meeting, some people said that they would rather, somebody had been speaking to, might have been UMIC, had been speaking to truck drivers, and they would rather drive to Warrialda than wash out in Inverell because of pressure or something. Did I say that right?
Yeah, well, that and a few other things, just the access and the ease of doing it, and not having to worry about anything. No one else there.
So if we don't see a material loss in usage after the price increase, that will go from being basically a cost recovery business unit to income generating.
Also the landscaping at the rec ground looks great. Yeah.
The only thing I was going to acknowledge is when you, in the Bingra Showground, there was the $3,545.64 for the camping, that when they had the country music weekend in Bingra.
Not bad taking, is it?
That's pretty good, because you always have people that say, oh, you know, all these people, but they've spent that much with the Shire there, and I know the whole town was busy, so every business, got runoff from that weekend. So those sort of weekends, it just shows you how beneficial it is all around.
Whenever there's an event on in a community.
Yeah, whenever there's an event on, doesn't matter what
Business
part of
operators, big dividends.
Yeah. But I think that the camping fees at the showground really shows that because we do have a lot of people that say, oh, they're camping down there for nothing, and it's the same as along the river and up here. Whereas, yeah, that's a big figure. Any more questions for Alex? Hey, can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Bishop and Councillor Scott. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, we'll move on to item 7.5, business and strategy report on page 19. And we'll hear from any questions for Justin.
First thing that you probably need to be aware of, I think it is in the report, but Cropper and North Star landfills are being closed Monday with the gates. Adrian Wood and I went out to North Star and Cropper Thursday, Friday night, and just gave some people a rundown on how to use the locks. They're the last landfills to be closed up. We're seeing dividends on the other landfills at the moment. The traffic's reducing. Another thing that happened was the Gravesend tip went up in flames on the weekend, Friday night, but it was actually because it was getting cleaned up. It was getting pushed up, and we think a battery's busted and sent it aflame. And it's getting a good clean up now, so they should be happy out at the Gravesend Way when that's all done, and Cropper will be next on the list. Another thing that isn't in here that was adopted Friday, the community participation plan went up for its exhibition period. We didn't get any objections, so it's now adopted. So any developments don't need, not all developments, in fact, most developments won't need to go through the 14-day notification period now, unless they're likely to cause a stir. So that should take some time off our DAs.
Very good.
And if there's anything else you want to ask me about, go ahead.
Are you cutting any flack with the tips being?
Not really. I've had a few phone calls about people concerned that they'll be dumping.
Yeah.
Cropper's probably the most likely one if there's going to be any, but we're going to put some trail cams in that front area. We haven't had any yet. We've got cameras there. We can pick up who they are. But so it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened yet, but if it does, then we'll have to see what we do.
The title one, Justin. There is real people trying to. That's it. Well,
Yes, and at Cropper we've got people from Maureen, Barrett, and Horton, Barrett.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
and just after the title shut in the sun, their employees were there dropping stuff off, and some guy tried to want to get in there. And do said, "Have you got the codes?" He said, "No." We said, "Like, no, we're in."
Yeah, and
Only soon know about it.
yeah, and we're getting that quite a bit. And it's got, well, you need to go and talk to your shop.
Yeah,
Like Horton, it's completely dropped off because the people from Barraba, I think at one point it was only open for 4 hours twice a week in Barraba.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so
The
Barraba tips.
Barraba tip. So,
Yeah, they're big on their own.
yeah.
I actually went to Horton the other night, Justin, and somebody was speaking to me about the tip, and they said it was the best thing that's ever happened out
Yeah.
there. And not only were they worried about all the people coming from Barraba and dumping in the tip, they said they were just coming and not contributing to the Horton. And I think that, they've got their little club and everything like that, whereas they tried to say, well, if you're coming, spend $1 at the club,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like that. So the Horton's very happy.
And
The
it's
couple I was speaking to the other night anyway.
extended the life
Yeah.
significantly too. Those two.
really the only people that should be unhappy with it are the people that aren't local
Yeah.
to that area. Using it when they shouldn't be.
So Gravesend's up to date, you were saying. I got a guided tour on Anzac Day. That was the thing people were complaining about at Gravesend when I was up there on Anzac Day.
They're out there working on it now. Yeah, he's giving it a clean up, and I think they're making it even a little bit deeper, so there's a bit more capacity there. And and they had the week before the concrete crusher and the mulcher out there as well, just to clear that up as well. Should have a full clean up.
Do the cameras ever catch anybody?
Yeah.
That was a question I was asked. So
Yes, they do. They've caught quite a few.
that's
much about it.
It's actually harder up north because they've got Queensland number plates, and we don't have the option to search Queensland number plates. The New South Wales ones, we can check them. And But generally people know, and we can ask around.
Yeah.
Explain to me at the koala park. So obviously there's donations that have been received there, but council has installed the platforms with the water fogs. So is that a council thing, or is that
We don't get the
we
donation.
don't manage it, do we? Or
No, but they're having troubles with volunteers at the moment.
Yeah.
So, and like even just getting those troughs and that cleaned out, instead of like, that's why our rangers at the moment are going down there and just giving it a scrub. But we heavily liaise with them. Yeah.
Brings people to town though. It's amazing how many people go there.
They're getting some sandstone blocks put in there soon as well, just to stop people from being able to drive in there.
I think in the future we're going to have to get it designated as a reserve, because currently it's on the road reserve, it's on LLS property. So we'll have to, in the future, take responsibility.
yeah, well, I mean, there's opportunities there too, because there's probably quite a bit of funding opportunities that council could gain as well.
Could you get, might be a random question, but they were saying about Taronga Zoo buying 2 properties in Bingra. Would they in Bingra? So they bought them in the Shire, and they're planning to expand and do lots of things there. Would they come on board with koala parks or
I don't
not?
think so.
No.
When I raised it with them, when I met with them, and they've certainly they purchased properties and they're going to regenerate those properties.
Yeah.
They were interested about the koalas and certainly, liaise with them, but I don't think they want to have any responsibility for them.
Yeah.
We do have the Australian Koala Foundation that have set up their home in the main street of Warialda, and they'll soon be renting what was the old works depot down here from council. So there's an opportunity there, but just see what the future brings.
They're the ones that instigate. There's a set of signs on the other side of North Star now being put in.
That was at the request of landholder.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And council erected those signs.
Yeah. So,
Any more questions?
On the koala park, Dave asking it later. The volunteers asked me to ask if it's all right if they water later in the day, coming in the frost and winter season. They do voluntary watering down there. Just with the water restriction, they're still hesitant to go down there and water.
Yes, and I'm happy to provide something in writing if they would like it, but it's not an issue.
Okay. And I have a mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Wilmot and Councillor Crump. Those that in favour say aye. We now move on to item 7.6, Council's investment report on page 152. And we'll have Helen.
I can take any questions that you have. I can tell you that our cash position has significantly increased since the end of last month. Just yesterday, we had $3.3 million of restart money come in. That is all our money, which is absolutely fantastic at this time of the year, getting close to the end of the financial year. We do have a big payment run today, but that's a good payment to have come in at this time of the year. That was yesterday.
Don't talk too loud, Alex will grade it.
Very good at saying no, Mash, you know that.
There's enough toys.
I've already snuck one in.
Our rates collection is higher than it has been at this point in time for the last 3 years, which is crazy, but wonderful.
We don't have any chance of losing any unexpended grants. I was talking to someone in another council where they were probably going to lose a few because they didn't spend them.
Yeah, we're going to be, people are going to be working their butts off between now and 30th of June to make sure we do get a few grant funded items completed, but we're pretty confident that it'll be fine.
Those where we have applied for extensions, I think they're pretty much been granted.
To actually lose a grant, you have to have a fairly comprehensive history of not having a go. It's been my experience that whenever you've been able to demonstrate that you've had legitimate attempts to deliver a project, and your staff have been redirected because of things like Shire-wide flooding, funding bodies are pretty sympathetic to that. It's when grant's announced and you sit on it for 4 years, 30th of June comes around and so, well, you've had 4 years to do something, you've done nothing, we're pulling the money.
I have no doubts we'll go out of Shire, Alex.
Any more questions for Helen on finances? Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Coleman and Councillor Sherman. Those in favour say aye. We'll move on to 7.7, which is the Country's Mayors Association meeting, which was held in March on page 155. Max will talk about that. I'll take questions.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm certainly happy to. No problem.
Max and I attended that last month.
What do you seem to be away at those all the time?
They're every quarter.
Every quarter, yeah.
The next one is in June at Yarra,
Orange,
Orange.
and it's on roads.
Hospital.
The last one was on health. Had Ryan Park speak at it. And it's just a problem. Health's a problem right across Australia, not just the state. Any questions? If those in favour say, oh, sorry, can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Bishton and Councillor Wilmer. Those in favour say aye. We move on to 7.8. Organisational structure on page 171. Any questions for Max on this? And he will explain or take questions. We have the new structure, organisation structures. Does anyone want to ask anything about that?
This structure's been designed to be put into place when I leave and Leah takes over. The directive people believe that they can operate on the structure as outlined in this, which will lead to a significant salary saving.
Again, we're lucky to have good staff that works with the general manager and deputy general manager, which, speaking to other councils at Country Mayors, they're very envious of us with staff and relationships with general managers and working well. So that's a feather in our cap. Any questions?
Now, Leah's responsibilities have been farmed out to Helen and Justin.
And I've taken some with me.
Oh,
And Alex.
down the side there, right now, I can see it. Pretty good.
Looks good. No questions? Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Crump and Councillor Crispin. Those in favour say aye. We now move on to 7.9, the March March 2025 quarterly financial review on page 176. So any questions for Max? Yes. Helen. Helen. Max and Helen. So.
So this was at our position at the end of March. Since then, we are in a much stronger position now. We've got this cash finally flowing in that we've been waiting on. There's other funding that's still due to come in before the 30th of June. So we should end the year in a very comfortable position. Staff know that, we don't have excess funding to just spend on stuff, so they are very diligent in
Capital grants.
No more.
There's a deficit of 15.
So that's our projected year-end result. It includes depreciation. Depreciation will jump from 1st of July by just over $1 million with all our roadworks that we've done. The revaluation, roads had to have a full comprehensive revaluation on the 5-year cycle this year, so that will flow through when it's posted for the 30th of June. They are booking depreciation has been moved further down on the income statement. So our position in the statements this year will actually look wonderful because that's over $10 million that's moved further down out of our continuing operations.
So that comes in immediately.
Yeah, so that's been changed. So the statements this year, yeah. And we've been posting profits for the last few years, so it'll just increase that by $10 million.
Any more questions for Helen?
They're also going to make the statements, well, I hope to make the statements actually a document that you can understand.
They're potentially removing all of our special purpose reports. So in Queensland, you said statements are about 70 pages long. New South Wales were over 100 pages long, and it's the same information. We just seem to have to do things the long way around. They're getting rid of ratios and getting rid of special purpose potentially, which will make things somewhat easier to understand. Unfortunately, changes to the accounting standard have made things more convoluted than, as Max would tell you, when he was doing, he pulled it all out. It was done in 2 weeks after the end of June. And
both the minister and I remember the good old days.
You pulled it out. Whatever came out was what you had.
That's right.
Unfortunately, it's not like that anymore. It's months of work, but the audit office, I think, have finally realised they've made things far harder than they need to be for councils. And we had interim audit last week, and we passed that with flying colours. They were happy after. They were here for 3 days, but they were nearly finished after 2, which is fantastic. And they did say, they were telling us about the changes and there'd be a lot less work involved. They said, so there won't be any more increases to your fees, most likely. There's no reduction, but there won't be any increases for a little while. So, which, well done. Yeah.
We also got a tick from Centrelink for the operation of our Centrelink services.
Yeah, we seem to be the target at the moment for audit. So we've just got through the roads one from the audit office, and now we've had a centre pay audit done. There are a few issues that we had, but they were very easily rectified, and we did that within the 3-week time frame that they gave us, and we've got the clean tick of health to say we're fully compliant. So that's another tick, thankfully. Because we have a lot of people in our communities that have centre pay deductions that come straight out. So
any more questions?
Okay.
Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Crispin and Councillor Collins. Sherman? Those in favour say aye. Aye. Okay. Now we move on to 7.10, proposed community meeting dates. These are only a proposed, so we'd like feedback. I've already heard that the week of the 19th of August is actually AgQuip, so we might run into a lot of farmers, anybody that might want to go to AgQuip, so that might we might have to move that one around. But can I have everyone's thoughts on those, please?
Well, I work Monday and Tuesday evenings, so none of them are suitable for me, however.
Yeah, we're working with each other to do what we can so we can sort of. Oh, right.
Working Monday, Tuesday evening.
Yeah, I work from 3:30 to 7:30. Monday, Tuesdays.
We could all go to a fitness class and then go on.
Kick on.
So can I have some thoughts on these,
My
please?
request would be the 18th and 19th. You've got 3 on those 2 days. We move back a week to the September, only because of the AgQuip thing.
Mm.
I think there'll be a lot of people going this year with seasons that have been favourable.
Is it possible to move it all back to September so we're a little bit warmer? Because that's the feedback that I've had for a couple of years.
It just depends on harvest. We just have,
I know we've got to get in between there.
we've got to, yeah, harvest is a main,
Pretty right with September.
we're right in September. We did have a thought of having a lunchtime, which I spoke to Sean about, a lunchtime meeting at North Star. Alex might want to follow up on this because we talked about opening a road at the same time.
Yeah, the North Star locals were keen for a ribbon cutting for the Old Airport Road, which might be appropriate in light of the completion of Moree section. And we thought that we could tie that in with the community meeting and do it as a lunchtime event. I'm sure if we're more or less likely to get farmers at a lunchtime than we are of an evening. It is the evening meetings at North Star have consistently been the same 10 or 12 people every time, and I'm not sure there's some apathy there that's prevented other people from coming, or it's timing, or it's a combination of factors. But if a lunchtime event might be more likely to get people and we can tie it in with a ribbon cutting, that might be a sensible path to tread.
Any thoughts?
So maybe some in the last week of August and then some in September rather than all in September.
Yeah, the week after ag whip.
Start the week after I quit.
Avoid a Monday and a Tuesday. So
Yeah, avoid a Monday and Tuesday.
I can make some of them late.
Well, it'd be, if we can avoid them and we can all be there, then we can work in with each other because everyone's got things. So, well,
So the Bingra one's after the council meeting, is that right? On Thursday, the 28th.
yeah, so usually what we used to do is have an afternoon council meeting.
Yeah.
And then and the same if we had the Warrior Elder one after a council, like wherever we are, we usually had the council meeting in the afternoon and then we just went into the community meeting so that your people that travel or whatever, whether it be Warrior Elder or Bingra, you're sort of in the same area. Or both. Does that make sense?
we just really need to reschedule Gravesend, Warrior Elder and North Star to be the first week in September.
And change them from Monday nights to Wednesday and Thursday nights.
What about the Hawk?
It's fine. Oh, it's a Monday, but we'll change it.
To probably a Thursday night, because don't they open Thursday nights out there? Thursday, Friday. So if we change it to a Thursday night, does that suit people?
We're having the community meeting that night too.
That is the community meeting. Yeah.
Our council meeting, no. We were talking about having those.
That's the 28th.
That's it, yeah, the 28th of August.
So it's fine to stay.
And we'll have move our council meeting to before that. So like people from this end, because it's at Bingara, people from this end don't have to fill in time and
2 p.m.
Makes sense.
So late an afternoon.
yeah, it's like 2 p.m. meeting and then have the meeting and then just have a drink.
No, the 27th is fine. It's a Wednesday.
Yep.
And Cropper Creek, the 25th. That's a Monday.
It's a Monday. Change that to
A Thursday again.
or the whatever suits, Wednesday or Thursday.
We come back to you with a list of.
Yeah, we'll come back with a list for next month. That's plenty of time, isn't it, for everybody?
Can we get some feedback on whether North Star at lunchtime was suitable or whether it's not a good idea?
Because we were going to have that the same day as the Warrialda one.
Just remember, you don't all have to turn up. This is voluntary. So don't, if you turn up to the ones you can turn up and don't turn up to those and you go.
Is when we have the North Star one, would people be happy? Like if Sean thinks it's going to work, having a lunchtime one, and then coming back to Warrialda and having the nighttime one, the 6 p.m. one
On the same day.
on the same day.
Yeah, it makes sense if trying to do 2 in a day.
Yeah. Do you think that'd work, Sean?
Yeah.
And cutting the ribbon for the road and
Fine with me.
we'll get some dates back to everyone for that as soon as possible. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Collins and Councillor Crispin. Those in favour say aye. Okay, we move on to item 7.11, Gravesend Recreation Reserve. Any questions for Max on this?
Max, is there an expense associated with the number of 355s that council have? Do they contribute to the increases in insurance? Nothing.
No, there's no additional cost, but we are. The 355 committees are one of the things that the internal audit committee are doing a service review of. We're in the process of doing that, all those sort of things with things. That's in it. 355 committees, it's just a way for the council to allow community groups to manage council's business. In this particular case, the Gravesend Reserve, there used to be a reserve trust that ran it, and they found it more and more difficult to actually, keep up with the regulatory requirements of being a trust. And they had negotiations with the Lands Department. The Lands Department asked us if we would take over the reserve management of the reserve, which we did. There's been basically a volunteer group that's been still involved in running it. This would just formalise that group into a 355 committee. The council's invested quite significant money, as has the community, into this facility. I don't know if you've seen it recently, but it's actually looking pretty good. We're about to put in a picket fence around the cricket field, which will really improve its appearance quite enormously. I think that's going to be done over the next couple of weeks.
Fence has been ordered.
Yeah, and it came from funding as well. Like the picket fence came from the
Just need to find a contract, put it up. But anyway, I think this is a good use of 355. You allow the local community to have ownership of the facility. So the next one the next report is a similar situation where there was a senior citizens group that ran pretty much independently of the council when it was Mrs. King,
Daphne.
She ran it like a little bike. Well, she's passed on, unfortunately, and the new group would like the security of being a 355 committee. It's the council building. Senior citizens of it. We wear all the insurances and all that stuff anyway, so it's just sort of like taking a little bit of onerous responsibility of the community, giving them the sense of security that they're part of the council. Doesn't really add to the cost, except for administratively, Susie Webber is the person who liaises with them. We do have a number, and they are being reviewed.
Any
It'll be a direct committee. Just about finished.
any more questions on the Gravesend Recreation Reserve?
In terms of insurance, 355 committees, so what are a special insurance for?
Oh, yes, there is. I suppose volunteer workers insurance. All of the council's volunteers are covered by that insurance. The other insurance, building insurance, and that, like, it's the cheapest way to insure buildings is to be part of the council's policy because we've got such an enormous policy. The same with public liability and professional indemnity, all those things are such a large policy that the individual little components like 355 committees are minor compared to the overall thing. And the volunteer workers insurance, I can't remember ever having anyone apply, but they have to sign on when they start volunteering. They have to be trained appropriately. They're often like the people out at Gravesend have just been put through
Induction,
induction, but what is it? Ticket? White ticket?
white card.
White card, because they want to work voluntarily on the all. That insurances are pretty minor in the scheme of things for these groups.
Users for our recreation grounds and showgrounds have to get their own insurance for events if they're independently running events, but that's the only requirement of users. Everything else is covered under council's blanket.
And usually when there's an incorporated body running something like the tractor pull, say Kulitai, they've got their own insurance, but we just have to make sure that the insurance is up to date and appropriate, and that they do the proper event sort of planning for it.
Any more questions? Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Dixon and Councillor Bishton. Those in favour say aye.
Be for both of them. Yeah.
So everyone read 7.4, didn't they? Yeah. Okay. Very good. So that's both of them. Okay. So now we move into councillors' reports. Let's go around the room, starting with Councillor Coleman.
Just some residents in Kulitai just having potholes and it's getting fairly boggy around the hall. Some gravel or something doing with it, and
so are those potholes near the hall?
Yeah,
potholes, and there's an issue near.
No, they're around the hall,
Okay.
around the front of the western side and the northern side of the hall.
Yep.
Alex, it does need some resheeting. It's getting some potholes in the Bitumen Road down to the access down to the hall as well, off the Inverell Road. And there's a lovely big depression in the road on the main road going on the Inverell Road, just from it's down off the turn off, and they're saying that the crew doing the mowing and stuff is probably not quite up to scratch what it was. So just few little things like fence lines and things. Across along a fence there, it's creeping further and further in, away from the fence line rather than keeping it tidy up.
There has been a staffing issue in that area that resolved itself yesterday.
Right. Well, the certain resident pulled some branches out that were near a fence, and they just mowed around them instead of cleaning them up.
Okay.
So that's the sort of
Yep.
and good things about the tip. That's shut. Well, locked.
Locked, yeah.
Good. Yep. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Councillor Sherman.
I have been approached by the Warrior P&A and Showground Community Trust asking for assistance. They've levelled off the jumping arena down the bottom. And now have an issue with drainage. I believe they've talked to you about it.
We relieved the drainage prior to the show, and my understanding is that there needs to be a fairly substantial stormwater line buried and sent towards the creek.
Yeah. So that's what they're asking if council could assist with.
Fairly rough estimate, it might be a $30,000 job. Could be potentially funded out of next year's stormwater budget on the basis that it's inter-allotment drainage. Looking to you, Max.
I won't be.
But water is flooding the area from both the tennis courts and surrounds, and also from the showground.
Yeah, look, it's certainly within the
Wouldn't we get it costed appropriately and come back to council?
we can do that if it wants a resolution, or we can add it to our stormwater program for next year.
Let's see what it costs and
Get the work designed, please.
Okay.
Excellent. So also I attended the Rural and Regional Summit that I mentioned earlier. And we were spoken to from Ron Honig, the Minister for Local Government, and also Rose Jackson, Minister for Water, Housing, Homelessness, Youth, Mental Health, Youth and Mental Health. And as I mentioned, they both agreed that costs have definitely shifted to local government in many areas. Neither of them had a solution except to blame the federal government. And then it was quite interesting also hearing from 4 of the mayors who suffered from natural disaster, whose council area suffered from natural disasters back in 2021, 3 floods and a bushfire from Lismore, Forbes, Cabonne and Eurobodalla. In many instances, they're still waiting for promised funding to be paid out to them.
Familiar story.
Yeah. So, and this is what, 4 years later. So it will be interesting to see how these current floods pan out and the recovery after that. And then this week, so Tiffany and myself and Carmen Southwell and Hayley Reynolds attended the Destination and Visitor Economy Conference. So it appears now we don't call it tourism anymore. It's the visitor economy. There's lots of new buzzwords. We met with the new Destination Country and Outback Officer, Fiona, and she's keen to meet with staff and get around to the region. All of the speakers and the different streams that we listened to, I guess, highlighted that we should definitely think about working collaborative with all our surrounding councils and look at providing like multi-day experiences for tourists. And I mean, we have the opportunities here and they're already established. We do package it up and market them a little bit better, I think, and look at ways to leverage through digital platforms in a much better way.
We spoke about lots of ideas. It's not going to cost any money to get the whole Shire out there because when I say any money, minimal money, didn't we? So just to put it out there better and get it out there. I've been going to the tourism conferences each year, and they really motivate. They're good conferences, and you come back motivated, and you actually see that we can do things better. And
one of the stall holders was SignPack, and they've actually featured our Warialda notice board on their front page of their brochures. So
on their stand
and on their big stand. That was quite cool to see. And also just wanted to acknowledge and say how wonderful Hayley is, and that we're very lucky to have her. She's, for someone her age, she's quite switched on and just took it all in her stride, and I was quite impressed with her, and very happy to speak to anyone and everyone, and not like a lot of people that age, just very open and friendly and happy. So
just signed up to do a Bachelor of Business with Council.
Good on her. Yeah.
And she's starring in the Alice, well, she's in the Alice in Wonderland play.
She mentioned that.
Yeah. That's nice, actually.
We think that her going away with us was a good thing, and I think maybe sort of moving not on her own, but
she can definitely be encouraged.
She can be encouraged and not sort of.
Yep, we know what you're saying.
Yeah, and
can I just make a comment about the regional and rural summit? It's had to be one of the best I've ever attended. The range of speakers were very good.
Mm-hmm.
The disaster recovery people were excellent. Mm-hmm. But overall, it was just a really well thought out day seminar, and it was the there was a purpose behind all the speakers.
They also spoke about like planning and building reforms and weeds and biosecurity, and also about the reviews that they've been doing as well that we spoke about earlier. Yeah, it was quite interesting. I didn't catch the last one.
Well, the standard will continue. The other thing I wanted to say is that the structure that you've adopted actually has created a higher presence for tourism within the structure as well. So that we'll be able to perhaps do more things in that area.
And they did stress that they've realised that amalgamation is not the right thing. Hopefully they can.
Well, the minister was saying that was.
Yeah, it is not. It hasn't worked, and it's not the right thing. And the way they spoke were very, very safe because they've realised it. But who knows? But that's the way they were speaking.
Not a priority for them.
Not a priority, and they've realised it doesn't work.
That's all I have.
Sarah.
I had a phone call from a resident who had been to the Bingra landfill recently, and one of the staff there told her that council had flood damage grants for private landholders.
Incorrect.
Yeah, thank you. I did say that, but I wanted to confirm. She's bought a house recently and there's some erosion, and council landfill staff said that we had money or grants available for her too.
There are limited grants available to non-government agencies that are administered usually through Reconstruction Authority or Resilience New South Wales. So it'd be worth having a look on their websites, but I think it's exceedingly unlikely that there's something for the circumstances you just described.
Yeah. Okay. Another one came in. I've got a landholder that has recently shot 4 dogs. Tiff, you'd know about this one as well.
Yeah, he rang me as well. I've spoken to Justin about it.
Unfit unchipped dogs means that he can't claim insurance for the stock loss. He's lost about $15,000 worth of stud ewes and rams and yeah.
10 sheep.
Pardon?
It's only 10 sheep.
He said, well,
He said it was that, wasn't it?
he told us 6. So
Yeah, Rangers did investigate it until someone comes forward. We don't know who they are at the moment to be able to do anything.
No, I
about
think probably his question was, what's our policy on unchipped dogs?
it.
And is there a way of
Working dogs are exempt. It depends what. I couldn't tell you what the breeds of dogs were, but they are exempt. But one of the things that we propose to do soon is to have an open day for people to encourage them to come and get their dogs microchipped for free. We're given the gear to do it, so it's one of the things I've been talking with Aaron and Michael about to get done. It's really what we can do at the moment, but the rest are mandatory to be microchipped. It's just if they're on
can't
a farm,
police it all.
there's no way of enforcing,
No.
no policing or
No. I did explain to the wife last week. I saw her last week, and after I'd spoken to Justin, so she knows that there's an upcoming free thing for everyone to do, and that we can't police that everyone goes and gets it done. You encourage it, but you can't police it.
I did do that free day years and years and
Yeah,
years ago.
we had it.
I know we were overwhelmed with the amount of people that did bring their animals in to at least get microchipped. So
And the only thing we can enforce is if they're impounded, they don't leave our pound until they're microchipped.
Yeah.
But that's all we can do.
Yeah, well, that's what 1080 bait. I would be if I've got feral dogs hanging around my place killing sheep.
The sad thing, well, it's not sad, but there's every property we join them. There's several properties that join them, and we've all got sheep, and they were the only 4 sheep or 6 sheep. I think it's
They're right next to the two.
yeah, that the dogs got, and yeah, I think he had a fall when he went to shoot them, and but I've spoken to the wife last week and told her what Justin said.
Yeah.
If find out it's important, we'll definitely act on it. But I highly doubt anyone's going to come forward.
No, and often, if somebody puts on Facebook that they've lost dogs, you know who they are. So
They did patrol that too. Yeah.
I did show him all the photos that were on notice board, and it was none of those.
Yeah. And the other one was overgrown yards in town. How does council have to enforce people to clean up?
We can issue the notice. They've got so long to do it, and if they don't do it, they can be fined, and then they've got so long to do it again, and then if they don't do it, then we can come in and do it and then put the cost back on them.
Okay.
Yeah. Which we've done multiple times. Yeah.
That's it for me. Thanks, Sarah. Adrian.
Just 2 things. One, I got cornered in the wool pavilion by a ratepayer who was bringing up the
In the what pavilion?
wool pavilion
At the show.
at the show. Alleged water diversion from the bypass affecting his property on Gryjean Road. I believe it's been raised with council. Bring it up again on his behalf. I won't mention names.
I question the.
That's why I used alleged.
That bypass hasn't moved any water further to the west. If anything, the drainage that we've created along the table drains of the bypass is concentrating water that is flowing down the bypass formation itself into the creek. There is a multi-cell pipe culvert that crosses underneath the bypass. That's there because there was an existing water course. We didn't put it there for the fun of it, and that's what that ratepayer is alleging is contributing to erosion on their property. It's more likely that 5-6 years of flooding, and that's about the sum of it.
And the second one, I was being approached by a gentleman who grew up in Warialda, who's a solicitor in Sydney. He's wanting to ask me to facilitate an introduction, I guess, to Justin, regarding a platform that assists with the speeding up of DA processing. And I'm just wondering if it's okay to do that introduction.
Cool. Yeah. I'll get the.
So it's Harry Bundock.
I'll get details off you after.
Anything else?
Yeah, that's it.
Scott,
Nothing to report.
thanks. Scott. Mick,
Gravesend, I've spent a bit of time out there with the elections and with the Anzac Day service, and a few people are interested in the hall and potentially putting funds towards it, asking if we've got a grants officer who potentially help with sourcing grants.
this has been an ongoing thing, so let Max speak about it.
I thought it was when I was approached. There was quite a few of them. It wasn't one or two people.
The council, former council, resolved to demolish it. And the community, a small number of the community, actually ended up getting a grant from Adam Marshall, which was nowhere near enough to do it, but it was enough that the council backed off. We actually issued a demolition order on the hall. I think you're looking at $300,000 or $400,000.
Well, that's a lot more than what they reckon, 60 to 80,000.
Yeah. No, the assessment we're undertaken was about, well, actually, it was an assessment undertaken by the previous committee. They came up with that $300,000, and I'd say that would probably be right because it's just a shell of a building that needs a lot of work.
It's probably double that now because that was quite a few years ago.
But a bit of background. Years ago, when we were doing our significant rate increase, you might remember we did a process which we brought together a citizens jury. We asked people to nominate to be on this panel, and a lot of people did. And we took them away for a weekend and just sort of explained to them why we needed the money, where the money was going, all that. It started out that, of course, all of them were against a significant rate increase. By the end of the weekend, when we pounded them into the ground, they all agreed that we should have it, which was great. But one of the few things that they decided they could do without was community halls. Of all those people, and one of the most vociferous ones was a guy from North Star. Some halls, it's great to have them and they're well used. I think North Star is, and Cropper Creek and Krubel is well used, and Yalleroy, but some of them are just a pain in the neck, and that Gravesend Hall is in the pain in the neck category.
Because we've actually got two in Gravesend side by side.
Yeah, that's right.
But they've got one. It's not as if they haven't got a hall they can't use, and we couldn't afford to put two halls in Gravesend.
And actually, at the time, we drew up some plans to expand the current
50.
hall that's used to make it more usable and have an open area out on the park. And they wanted that money put into the other hall, which the council agreed to. But it's like any more money you put in there, it'd be good money going up to bad.
I can see the roof has been fixed up and the interior, the floor looks like it's been fixed, but I didn't know the history, so I appreciate the history, but they're actively raising money out there for it. Like they're having sausage sizzles on election day and doing whatever else, but I've brought it up anyway.
Yeah.
The community was told, the last thing that the community was offered was that they take the hall, council not insure it, not be on our asset list.
We give it to them.
Yep.
The community take it. And the community at that time didn't want to do that and they just stopped what they were doing. But this, because they've come to me as well, I've said to them, raise funds, do whatever you like as a community group, but council will only support the one because it was council resolution. I think that,
Fair enough.
yeah.
I think my way of looking at it, it's like everything going back to when we were knocking down hospitals and putting new hospitals, all the trouble we've gone through with the Bingra the Memorial Hall, which was actually the admin building, and that, do you know what I mean? That's the way I look at it anyway. Now nobody says anything about the beautiful new hospitals or the new building that's coming along, and
They're a very determined committee and they may raise enough money to improve the hall so it can be used. That would be the best result. So just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, no.
And we do have a grants officer and and that is Gemma Dillon, and we'll be able to flick them information on anything that might be relevant.
Yep.
There's also the grants finder spot on our website, on the Quota Shire website.
Yep.
Captain Cook Park, there's a big gum tree next to the flagpole on Anzac Day. It's obstructing the flag apparently. Need a limb or two cut down near the flagpole at Captain Cook Park. This person doesn't mind me saying their name, but I've encouraged him to go to the council office with his complaints or his issues, and he has been doing that. He's just asked me to bring them up, not bring them up, but say that he has done that, and that I've made it open that he's got quite a few complaints lodged. John Hodge. So I've done that for John. And the last one of issues, how near the top of Market Street. I don't know if they're exaggerating. People don't exaggerate in Warrialda, but apparently there's 40 to 50 cats up there at one certain house, and it's got to the point where it's a health hazard and affecting everyone up that end of the street.
You have an address?
Yes, I'll give you the address.
I think that's the house Pussy Willow.
I'll put that down.
But what the positive thing, well, this is a very good positive thing about Alan in regards to the town. I think the town's looked as good as it's ever looked in the time I've been here. And instead of people coming to me every week about the appearance of the town in a negative way, they're coming in a positive way. And I think it looks good everywhere. So congratulations to the changes in such a short amount of time and the positive effect it's had.
especially the caravan park.
Along the river, the other day there must have been 20 people down there having a picnic and parties and just looking a lot better. So well done to everyone involved in making that happen. And the flu needle campaign, well done for that. I went and got my flu needle. It was amazing how many were up there. So congratulations for doing that. The only other thing I left at the bottom, we had our emergency management committee meeting, which we have every few months, and the school principal was there from the high school, and she voiced a concern in regards to the noticeable increase in vapes, and she's attributing it towards the shop in the main street. And like I said, we don't have any powers in regards to the shop, but I think it's worth noting that it's potentially having a negative effect on the town.
They've got a thing going into Parliament about all those at the moment. That's been lodged, hasn't it? Yeah, to go in because it's increasing in every town. Apparently in the world there's 15 of them. Really?
Affected cigarette sales.
So illegal tobacco has 60% decrease on our sales of legitimate product.
What about since this cost of show?
Not really. Not really, because the people who are travelling to Inbrell to buy and are just buying them here. It's just huge anomalies. Like, so for the month of April, my tobacco sales were down 110,000 on last April, which that equates to 2 full-time jobs in that store. So increasing unemployment in the community. The government's just got it so wrong that with change in tobacco legislation from the 1st of July, there's a whole new range of compliant products coming in. So that means that roll your own tobacco will only be sold in up to a 30-gram package instead of a 50 or even bigger. Powder-made products will only be sold in 20s instead of 20s, 25s, 30s, 40s and 50s. There'll be no flavoured tobacco, so no menthols, no port or rum flavoured. All of these things cease to be sold on the 30th of June.
And crushable.
But directors of companies who sell a non-compliant product on the 1st of July can be subject to fines of up to $15 million. So I sell a packet on the 1st of July that's legal on the 30th of June, but not legal on the 1st of July, up to $15 million, these guys get a $3,000 fine for selling an illegal product.
Crazy.
I think the biggest issue down here we've got is the allegation that they're living on premises in a commercial building.
Our rangers were following that up this week. I haven't heard.
Yeah.
They did. That came up at the last meeting, and they did have a room at the Royal.
Are they no longer allowed at the Royal?
I have heard that. So they've been going back to follow that one up.
Is there still talk about one happening at Bingra?
I heard. I don't know whether it was just, if you haven't heard any more, Max.
The ones going by the pub, the top pub, apparently.
Can I talk to you about those people after the meeting?
You can.
It's a bit of a concern. I'm sure we were told, you were there, Adrian and Rach, when we Brendan told us in Inverell, wasn't it?
There's just, Inverell has such a huge number, and because it's
Moray's the same.
Because it's a federal matter, so it can only be truly policed by the Australian Federal Police. So local police don't have much authority. They can enter the premises and confiscate illegal product on site, but they can't go beyond that. They can't search vehicles, they can't search residences, they can't search our alleged storage facilities. So these operators are only holding a small amount of product on site. They will go to their home or wherever and bring more product during the day, so that if they do get raided, they're only losing a couple of $100 worth of product as opposed to thousands of dollars worth of product. And that's why they have multiple outlets. So of the shops in Inverell, they're controlled by just a couple of operations.
Cunning.
Yeah.
So
Should be putting a picture of the popcorn lungs.
So, and on that high school issue, the
local dealing distribution network was busted by a mother. Her son was cutting profits with an 18-year-old who was buying product for him to sell at school because that made him cool. That mum has made it abundantly clear by providing photographs of the 18-year-old saying that if you sell to this girl who's then selling to my son, I'll make it difficult for you. And I wouldn't like to cross that lady. So hopefully Shelley will be seeing less product in her school.
So they just need to make tobacco legal, like take all the taxes off and let it go.
Legal.
Oh, it's legal, but take all the tax off tobacco, and these things wouldn't happen.
The current government said, we can't do anything that can aid big tobacco being legal tobacco. But it's okay to aid illegal tobacco.
It's crazy. So the vaping thing is chemical.
And what it does to the vaping thing is so much worse as a nurse's point of view for your lungs and cigarettes. Like, it's just awful. Pardon my ignorance, but you know how you said they're reducing the smaller packets with you selling them. Will it be the same with tobacco shops?
No, because they're not selling a legal product in Australia. They're importing product on their own. So, but I believe that these guys sell smaller packets.
Okay.
They tend to be smaller.
The 20 packs anyway. So.
But they can, because it's illegal, they can virtually.
Yeah, because they're bringing it. It's the new illegal drug trade. It's the new heroin. It's the new cocaine, because the same gangs are now in illegal tobacco that were in illegal drugs.
Any more mix? Sorry.
No, that's it.
Sidetracked. Sorry.
Thank you.
Mash.
No, there's only one thing I want to bring up, Alex.
On Burleigh Street.
No, all the streets in town have had terrific potholes everywhere. I was going to drive around and name all the streets, but I didn't have time.
You'll be pleased to know that we have a contractor doing a full rehab on nearly all of Heather Street and 2 blocks of Martin Street starting next week. Letterbox drop for that was done this week. Potholes around town, we will redirect the jet patcher, but there's only potholes in town because there's a lot more of them out on our rural roads.
Yeah, I realise that.
But I'll certainly touch base with the operators and see if we can get a RDA worked and a run around Bingra.
Okay. Any more, Mash?
No, that's it.
Thank you. John?
Right, thank you for the smiley speed signs on the outskirts of North Bingra. Yeah, sometimes I see how high I can push it and sometimes I don't.
It's a fun game for all.
Yuri's there taking note of your registration number.
I noticed the bins the other day in the main street were, they must have collected them and all the doors were open in them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed that too.
I did too.
I don't know, you can get,
Actually, I noticed on one, I just thought it was
they just had a latch. I don't think they need to be locked, do they? I don't know. And one other thing from the Horton, when I was out there on Anzac Day was, lady was complaining this, some bloke has cattle on the loose and they just mow into people's gardens, and they were wondering if the ranger, have you heard about it before? No.
That's
Usually it used
a
to be
perennial
horses.
problem out there. There's one guy.
There's one guy. So
Yeah, horses do.
maybe we should ask the community what they think we can do to stop him, because I suppose the ranger goes out there or
You give the name after?
Hmm?
Give the name after?
I don't actually have the name. I can find the idea, but I didn't. Yeah, well, okay.
Maybe give the Rangers a call.
That's all.
Any more, John? Okay, so that's everyone's council reports. Now, can I have a mover and a seconder to move out of ordinary council meetings into confidential meeting, please? Councillor Bishop and Councillor Crispin, those that favour say aye.
Here we've got some recommendations from the Committee of the Whole. The Confidential Organisation and Community Services Report, the committee is recommending that the report be received. With regard to the report concerning medical practices, the committee recommends that the Quarter Shire Council write to every rural and remote local government authority seeking their support for the formation of a local authority-based rural medical services alliance. So we need a movement.
Now, can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Wilmot and Councillor Coleman. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
And now
Close the meeting.
close the meeting. Have a good afternoon, everyone. The next meeting is in Bingra on the 19th of June.